Welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining our webinar. I just wanted everybody to know that all participants are in silent mode. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type them out in the chat. Kate and I will be monitoring the chat box as well as our Twitter live feed. So you are welcome to put any questions that you have in either the chat box or in the Twitter feed, and we'll be happy to take those questions as they come along.
Yeah. Thank you, Zia. And for the introduction parts, Zia, would you like to talk a little bit about yourself before I do?
Sure, I can start off. So guys, my name is Zia. I work for the Dev Masters. A little bit of background about me is I am from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I lived in Vancouver for many years, and I worked at Bell Canada as a cloud specialist. My role was actually to take on-prem solutions or help companies move on-prem solutions from on-prem to public cloud. And I did that for many years. But I just got a little bit bored of that, so I decided to get into the exciting field of data science, and have been doing that, and moved to California, and have been working with Dev Masters doing that for a couple of years now.
Cool. So a little bit about me. Again, I'm Kate. I'm also a data scientist with Dev Masters. I specialized in probability and statistics in college, and I realized that while I was getting my degree, I really liked data, and there was no other way that I would be able to function if I didn't have a job in data. So eventually somebody told me about data science, and the rest is history, basically. I found myself knee deep in data science, and I couldn't get out. So yeah.
Very cool, very cool. So, how do you enjoy doing data science, Kate? Do you like it, and is that something that's a passion for you?
Yeah, I love data science. I think it's a new way of doing data analytics. Before we can just ask how and why, but we were never able to answer things like what happens next, or how can you make it so that something else happens instead. So it's a nice way of getting more information out of your data than ever before. And yep.
That's very exciting. Yeah, so it's exciting times for data science and data science people who are in that industry. Awesome, good stuff.
Yeah. So for today's webinar, we have which was 5 minutes introductions, and then we're going to move on to what is data science and what are the applications of data science, where we'll tell you kind of what is expected of a data scientist, where can it be applied, what are some industries that need data science, and then we'll then open it up for the first round of Q&A, where you'll be able to type your questions into the chat box and be able to tell us what you need help on. And then we'll move on to the case study, and the case study will consist of basically a little bit of code in order for you to see what data science can do, what happens in a data science project. And then afterwards we'll show you how you can actually learn to become a data scientist with the Dev Masters. And then there will be a lot of questions after that, so that's why we will end the webinar with Q&A. And after the Q&A and after you sit through the entire webinar, we actually have a $500 coupon for those who actually attend the full webinar. And then there's actually a special offer only for webinar attendees that sign up early for the classes.
All right, so there is a $500 coupon as well as a special offer. Very cool at the end of the seminar.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the when we go to different conferences, Kate, and when we are like when we're talking to people, one of the questions that comes up very often is how do you become a data scientist, or more importantly, what is required for, like, what kind of skills or what is required to be a data scientist? So are we going to talk about those?
Yeah, it's actually very straightforward. Here
Okay.
you see like a chart that says what a data scientist is. And yeah, and you can see here that includes four parts. You need to know computer programming, starting from the top. You need to know statistics. You need to have communication skills, and most importantly, you need to have a domain expertise. So this is kind of like what we answer, and when people ask us, "How do you become a data scientist?" at conferences.
So
So
what you're saying is that somebody who has kind of these skills can call himself a data scientist. He should be able to at least do some level of programming so that he can use those computer tools like Python and R and SPSS or SAS or SAP and work on those. And you are saying that he does have to have some background in statistics as well as understanding of the domain, and then be
mhm.
able to tell a story about the data that whatever he's finding. So these kind of are the core skills for a data scientist.
Right, yeah, this is what a data scientist should encompass.
Okay,
These are
very
yeah.
very
And
cool,
then
very cool. So how, like then typically, where does the value in data science come in? How what's the value stack look like for data science?
that's a very interesting question, and we actually have a diagram that actually describes this. It's right here on your screen. It's a data science pyramid where we start from the bottom, where we actually, as soon as your data comes in, you collect it, you display it, and then you clean it, you aggregate it, you visualize it, you start creating some of your questions that you can answer with this data. And then you write up reports on what you find first, like in exploring it and then sharing it and creating links to other sources of data that you've seen before. And then in those three parts, that's basically what a data analyst does. And then a data scientist actually moves farther up the pyramid and starts doing predictions, recommendations, make inferences on the data, start to understand the data. And then at the very top is actually where the real value comes in. We actually then, based on those predictions and recommendations, we actually deliver a recommendation to those who wanted us to analyze the data in the first place. Tell them, okay, this is what your data is saying, and this is what is predicted or classified to happen.
Okay, so this is
So,
what it means when you were talking about that the initial three layers basically is where you find out what happened and why did that happen. So you're basically looking in the historic data and trying to figure out what happened and why did it happen. And then in the top two layers, you are looking at what will happen next, and then how can we make it happen. So the actionable insights. Oh, very cool. So this is how the world of data science works.
yeah, it's actually very awesome. And then, in terms of that, though, there's only a certain amount of industries that actually benefit from this. Um, well, actually, there are a lot of industries that will benefit from data science. So there are some industries that actually actively have data science teams. So any industry that actually has data will be able to benefit from data science also. So, yeah, do you have any particular companies or industries on this list that you have experience with?
Sure, yeah, at Einstein Assembly, we do work with a few companies, but I really liked what you said, Kate, that any industry can use data science if they have data, and majority of the industries now have data because companies now collect data and keep data, and because the storage cost has gone down substantially, and the compute power is really fast. Companies keep data and are able to analyze it and make use out of it. So majority of these industries, all of them have lots of data, and they can work on work to get value out of that data. In terms of us working, the DevMasters actually has a sister company called Einstein Assembly, and I work as a data scientist, as a consultant, a data science consultant at Einstein Assembly as well. And a couple of projects that we do there are recommendation systems. So we are building a recommendation platform for e-commerce websites. So a recommendation system, I believe most of you would know, but it's something like when you watch a Netflix movie, Netflix will recommend you different movies based on what movie you typed, or what persona or what personality you have, or your user profile. So that's a recommendation system, and we are working on building a recommendation system for an e-commerce platform that has about 400, 500 sites on them. So that's one of the domains that I work in a little bit. I also work in something called sentiment analysis using unstructured data, using the natural language processing. So that's another field that we work with, trying to understand what people are saying on social media, or Instagram photos, or Snapchat, and things like that. Trying to understand the sentiment of that post or the photo or whatever you are looking at. So that's another domain that we work in, and there's a lot of potential in those domains because it looks at the unstructured piece, which is the highest growing piece in data. If you look at the growth of data, unstructured is where the majority of the growth is happening.
Okay. Yeah, that's very insightful. Thank you, Zia. There's other people on the team also with us, with me and Zia. There's Arshad Khan, who's also a data scientist. He has a great background with a lot of Fortune 500 companies. There's Jay Mayers, and also a data scientist with us. He does most of his data science with his app developments. There's City, who's also one of our data scientists. He is actually in the middle of his PhD right now, so there's a lot going on for him right now. And then there's Al Fuller, who's our director of recruiting, who helps either funnel resumes out to some of our partner companies, or helps find recruiting for our own companies. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Alan is instrumental, guys. If you are looking to make a career switch, or if you are interested in if you're a fresh graduate and you're trying to find out that if data, like looking for your first job, Alan is instrumental in that, and he can help you make that first connection to those companies. So he's a good resource to know for sure. So Kate, what are we going to talk about in the case study today?
Today's case study is actually Starbucks or Teavana. So let's say you work for Starbucks and you were asked by a regional manager that she wanted to open up a new store, either Starbucks or Teavana in California. So based on a certain amount of criteria, she wants you to tell you whether to open up a Starbucks or Teavana. So she's going to give you a data set, and you're going to answer her and say you're going to open up a Starbucks or a Teavana.
Okay, so basically it's your owner that's coming to you, and they are interested in either opening up a Teavana or a Starbucks, and based on some certain parameters, you are going to see which one is a better option.
Yes.
Okay, and you think that data science can help us with that?
Let's see.
All right, that's awesome. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so what you're doing here is you basically are importing your libraries. Okay, I can see that you imported pandas and numpy, seaborn, matplotlib. Very cool. and then you're importing your data set. Um, you're importing your data set. And once you have your data set, okay, so this is how your data set looks like, that you have the brand names, the store names, okay, you have the ownership type, and you have the city, state, country, and their revenue, and their longitude and latitude. Okay, awesome. So you imported all that data frame into your code.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of like what Python can do for you.
All
Yeah,
right.
imports your whole data set. Yeah, so moving on. So it's always nice to visualize your data, so you can visualize it by looking at it. And in this case, since it's your regional manager asking you for Starbucks or Teavana in California, let's actually look at a map of California and try to plot where the different Teavana and Starbucks locations are at. So in this case, you see that all the blue is actually Starbucks, and all the red is actually Teavana. So Teavana, it seems to be not a lot of locations in California. It's actually one of Starbucks' newest creations, and you should really try it if you find one of their locations. And yeah, so this is kind of like seeing what we're dealing with right now. And that's what this is, a package in Python called matplotlib that actually does a lot of graphs, and in particular inside matplotlib there's a module called base map, and it actually kind of treats maps and data this way kind of deal. So yeah, there's the code, so if you want to try it over again or see kind of like what kind of how you kind of do it. Yeah, so once you visualize your data, you gotta prep your data. So most of the time, algorithms that we run through in data science actually requires a certain type of data set. No, not data set, a certain type of data type. So all the text that you see in the previous snapshot of the data actually needs to be changed into a numeric. So that's exactly what we did here using the replace function, and actually, yeah. So here's another way of looking at the data. I mean, of replacing the data from a single number to a different type to a different number. And this is just how this is actually in data science projects. This is actually a big chunk of the data of data science projects, because not all the time are we given clean data or data that is actually has any information at face value. So in some instances, we might have to actually create new columns with new data that we can get from the other different columns. Like say if you had somebody's birthday, you most of the time the record is somebody's birthday, but we use that record to actually figure out how old they are. So if say they're born in 1990, but the year right now is 2016, they would be 26 as opposed to like 2017, which is now it would actually be 27. So it would actually be more important to actually record their birthday rather than how old they are at that exact moment. So in some instances of that case, and we will need to actually what we call prep the data. Yeah. So once we move past prepping the data and we're satisfied with what we're given, we actually start modeling. And in the modeling part, we have to ask ourselves, what type of question are we answering? So in that case, it's actually asking what type of model should you be doing, because data science actually has a lot of different ways of answering your questions, but it needs to be, there's different segments in which the question should be answered. Are you asking for a prediction? Are you asking for a classification? Are you asking for, say, like, to see if there's any patterns in the data, which we call kind of like clustering? So there's different instances of the data questions that data scientists can answer. So It depends. But in this case, since your regional manager is asking you whether it should be a Starbucks or a Teavana that should be opened, um, looking at the data or actually graphing the revenue itself, it's just one instance of looking thing. You see that there's only about two two instances that the brand can be 0 and 1, 0 and 1, 0 and 1. So there's only is that's what it is. You can only answer with Starbucks or Teavana. So this becomes a classification problem, and this is just one of the classification algorithms that you can use. There's no particular reason why I chose this classifier. Um, this classifier in particular is called random forest, and it actually, instead of creating one single decision tree in order to literally decide whether it should be a Starbucks or a Teavana, instead it will create multiple trees, essentially a forest at random, and basically weigh all of the results at the end of the tree and tell you, well, it depends on what parameter you want to set it at, but by default, I believe it's the which one occurs the most. So in this case, after we import random forest, and we actually have to split the data from dummies from the X that has been changed into numerics, and then and the Y we have to split it to see if the classifier or the algorithm actually works, and then we import it, and then we type out all of these lines of code. Once we actually make the prediction, in some instances, in this case, if we ask whether it should be, we ask it the ownership type, the city, and the revenue. Based on this particular one, we should open up a Starbucks. So that's kind of like what data science can do for you with a couple of data sets, a couple of columns, kind of like what happens in an actual data science project where you have to clean the data, possibly make columns if you have time, create more features, like I said, and then if it comes down to it, you know which algorithms should be used with the data once you visualize it, then you can pick your algorithm. And then at the end of the day, we still have to actually answer our business questions, so that's why we do the prediction part and we answer it. So in this case, based on this, most of the time we should open up a Starbucks still in California. And it kind of makes sense because in the graph before, it was nothing but Starbucks. So why change something that shouldn't be changed? So that's kind of like what happens with data science. Okay, now that you've seen through an actual data science project or an application of data science at its simplest, we all know that most data science projects do go in more depth. So Zia, where can people go to get more in-depth data science learning or training projects?
So Kate, that's a great question. Usually, what I'd like to say is that data science is not just your traditional learning, because in traditional learning you are actually just learning one kind of core subject. In data science, there are multiple cores. You do need to know computer programming. You do need to also know statistics, and you also need to have a domain knowledge. So this is a different type of learning, and we have introduced a concept of applied labs. And with applied labs, what we do is that we pair people in the class in a way that there is somebody from stats, there is somebody who is stronger in programming, and then there is somebody who has domain knowledge, and then there's somebody from the business aspect of it. And we group them together in one class so that when you are in the sessions, you get different opinions of the same subject or the same question from different types of industries or different types of people. That is where the real learning happens, because everybody, a computer programmer will come to a question from a different angle whereas a statistician would come to the same question from a different angle. So you would see how different domains or how different people approach the same problem. So keeping all that in mind, what we have, the Dev Masters have created is a Mastering Applied Data Science program. This runs for 12 weeks, and in the 12 weeks is basically the Data Science Applied Labs is the first 6 weeks, and the project-based learning is the second 6 weeks. Our course is very heavily focused on hands-on learning and practical learning, as well as projects. So we get you to do at least 3 projects in the course in the project-based learning, and maybe 2 smaller projects in the Data Science Applied Lab piece. So all in all, you will probably do 5 projects with us. Now, before we start this course for the 12 weeks, we do get people who are newer to programming or newer to statistics. So we have something that we call it as pre-work. Pre-work is people who want to get their basics about programming or stats done. We do have sessions for those people so that they can join them, and then when they start the program, they actually have gone over the concepts or gone over the basics in the pre-work for stats as well as for coding, and because that's an important aspect of it, so that you are not concerned when you get into the actual program about that. So this course runs for 12 weeks. It's designed for professionals, so it runs on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday. So you don't have to leave your job to actually take this course, or if you're interested in switching a career, you don't have to leave your job and start and do a Monday to Friday. You can actually do it on the weekends. Now, we do understand that there's life happens, and there are situations. There could be a situation where you cannot attend a class or maybe a couple of classes or a weekend. So we allow you to come back and repeat the course at no additional charge for as many times as you want. So what we like to call it is a lifetime membership. So this course has a lifetime membership. So once you've taken the course, if you missed a class or if you didn't get the concept, and if you want to come back and review the course, you are welcome to come back and do it. Sometimes we introduce new topics. So if there's a new topic, you are welcome to come and join that course. So this is one of the trainings that we offer. The other course, so this is a 3 months one. The other option that you have with us is a 7 consecutive days. So it starts on a Sunday and ends on a Saturday. So this is a 7-day course, which is designed for more people who are already in the industry or have good background in coding and in stats, and have good knowledge of the domain, and they are interested in actually just enhancing their skills. So this is designed for people who want to do it in a really short time at a very high speed. This is 7 days consecutive. Again, comes with lifetime membership. So if you take this course once and if you want to come back and repeat it, you can absolutely repeat it. There is no additional charge for that. And once the course is done, once the materials is delivered, you do some projects within those 7 days, so that you get some hands-on experience with that. And you will do 2 Kaggle projects during those 7 days of the content. Again, it is designed to be a more practical oriented and has the same concept of applied labs in there, so that you can get different opinion from people who are in different domains for the same question. So that gives you an idea of how a business person would look at this question, and how a statistician would look at the same question, or how a computer programmer would look at the same question. Now, Kate, what kind of topics do we cover in this 7-day course?
Oh, yeah. We're going to speed run through a lot of topics, actually. So on the first day, we're actually going to introduce you to data science, which is basically we're walking through ChrisDM and some initial portions of data science, and walk you through exploring data using techniques such as an introduction to pandas, and a little bit about how you can manipulate some data points and data frames, actually. And then we move on to day 2, which is a lot of, now we say, okay, let's actually mine some data using NumPys and Pandas again, where we'll actually find some sources of data out there on the web for you to scrape as an example of data mining. And then we'll end the day by saying, okay, here's now a data set that is considered a time series data set, and let's utilize what we've learned so far in the last 2 days to create a miniature project out of it for a time series. And then day 3 is where all the fun starts, because the last 2 days was just data prepping and data cleaning. Day 3, you actually learn stuff. You start learning some initial machine learning concepts such as linear regression, simple regression, multiple regression, and then we move on to logistic regression, which is part of the advanced machine learning concepts, because it's a classification, and then we move on to some more classification algorithms such as naive Bayes, decision trees, random forest. There's a whole bunch. It's a really, day 3 is actually a very long day, but it's very, very useful. Then we move, and then since the last 3 days will probably burn people out, day 4 is kind of like a breather, where we do 2 projects. One of them is estimation, the other one is classification, where you would then be able to review what you learned in the last 3 days and then actually see where you need help on and what an actual data science somewhat to almost the end looks like and how it feels and such. And then after that, you'll be fresh and ready to go for day 5, which is moving on to what we call the distinguishing parts of being a data scientist, where we learn about recommendation systems, and then natural language processing and sentiment analysis, where you now consider text as data, where this data can actually tell you how your customers are thinking, or so on and so forth. And then day 6 is another big part about being a data scientist, which actually creeps a little bit into artificial intelligence, actually, with big data with Spark, and computer vision with a miniature project, and then deep learning. And we wrap off the 7-day course with, again, a project, two projects actually, where you decide which 4 topics in the last 2 days that you feel you really, really liked. So project 1, it can either be natural language processing or a recommendation system, and project 2 can be a computer vision or a deep learning. And yeah, that about wraps up the whole 7 days. Of course, the 12-week program is a little bit more spaced out if you feel like this is going too fast, but again, I'd like to remind you that our courses do have a lifetime membership guarantee, where if it's too fast for you the first time, you can definitely come back again and utilize learn the same thing over again.
Yeah, so that's a, sorry.
Yeah, with different people actually this time, probably, because, yeah.
That's a lot of content for 7 days, for sure. But again, as Kate was saying, that it comes with a lifetime warranty, lifetime guarantee kind of thing, so you can come back and take the course again. But it's some great content, lots of information. So if you are up for it, get ready, and we'll be happy to have you on board.
Yeah. Then, if you need some help getting on board, there's some financing options. We have in the first column, we have flexible payment options, where we'll actually be able to help break down the 3 into 3 payments for the program. Note that this is only available for the 12-week program, because we'll be able to help you break it down further. In 7 days is actually not that possible. And then for scholarships, we have a veteran scholarship for veterans, scholarship for students, which is about 5 to 10%. These require documentation, of course. And then if you're part of a corporation and you feel like say you wanted to bring this to your company instead. We have a group discount and a one-time pay discount also, if that helps. Yeah. And then here are some testimonials from some of our past students. We have people from biostatistics, logistics, some software engineers, some in finance and retail. So it's not just your average computer programmer or just statisticians running through this program. There's a lot of people that see the benefit and uses of data science, so they hopped on it as soon as possible and went through our program and are very happy to have gone through our program. Yeah. And then here are some pictures of some of our classes where you see some of our students, our setup, and how crowded it sometimes gets, but at the same time how small the classes are also. And it's a great experience for those who went through this. It shows where they've used it and how they've learned it, and yeah. And, yeah, so Zia, if people really like what they've seen so far, what is considered the next step?
Yeah, so good question, Gate, again. If you like data science, if you are interested in becoming a data scientist, and you are interested in finding out a little bit more about the course, or you're interested in actually attending an advanced session, you are welcome to reach out to us. Kate will be sharing our contact details with you shortly. So you're welcome to reach out to us, and we will be happy to. The advanced sessions are more by invitation only, so we'll be happy to send you an invite for the advanced session. The advanced sessions are typically held in Southern California, in the Orange County and the LA County area, but we are opening it up to other places as well. So if you are interested, please reach out to Kate, and we'll be happy to send you an invite for the advanced session. The other option, so that's one thing that you can do with us. The other option is that if you have a general question, and if you wanted to talk to somebody about how to approach it, what are your learning options, what's the next step that you should do, and those kind of questions, you are welcome to actually again reach out to us, and we'll set up a time with one of our team members who will be happy to answer any questions for you, and maybe give you any thoughts that they have on that topic. So the second option that you can have is that you can book a time with one of our team members and discuss whatever you have on your mind for data science. The third option, that how you can engage us, is by if you have a project in mind that you want to do and would like us to help you out with that project, we would be happy to talk to you about that as well. We call it as a POC, so we'll be happy to talk to you about any proof of concepts or any projects that you have in mind that you want somebody else to do it for you, or somebody else to help you out with that. So that's the third way that you can reach out to us. So these, Kate, I believe, are the next steps typically for anybody who's interested in data science and would like to pursue this. Again, thank you very much, everyone, for joining our webinar. I hope it was informational for you. I just want to remind everybody that if you still have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to us via this email, contact@thedevmasters.com, or you can also reach us by this phone number, 1-866-340-1375, and you can talk to any of the team members here and send your questions there by email as well. Thank you again, guys, and have a wonderful day. Look forward to talking to you soon.